This is flip video 4.4 bank balance sheets. So this is just using money creation. We're still going to be looking at money creation here, but we're just going to look at it through a bank balance sheet. So a bank balance sheet is a summary of a business's or bank's, which is what we're mostly going to be looking at, financial position. They're also called T accounts. So this is just the record keeping that banks use to keep track of money coming in and money leaving a bank. So here's an example of a bank balance sheet. We have assets in one column and then liabilities on the other column. So assets is what the bank owns. So the bank owns these loans and the bank owns these reserves. Loans is money that has already been handed out. So this particular bank has $1 million worth of loans out. Now that's money already out. So you can't re-loan any loans. And then reserves are the bank deposits. So that could be excess or required. So this bank has $100,000 of reserves. And we would have to figure out how much of that is excess or how much of that is going to be required reserves. And then also on the assets side can be our bonds from the Federal Reserve. In the other column, we have liabilities, which is what the bank is responsible for. So we have $1 million of bank deposits here, and those deposits are the checking accounts. This is what the bank is responsible for. This is your checking accounts. They're responsible for protecting that money. And then we also have something called bank's capital, or it could also be phrased as owner's equity. So this is just furniture, machinery, the personal bank loans that that bank has for things. So things that they're still responsible for paying back or responsible if there's damage done to it. So here's an example of a bank balance sheet. We have assets in one column and liabilities in the other, and it is called a bank balance sheet. So we need to make sure that the assets equal the liabilities. So we're just going to figure out if both sides equal each other, and if they do, we're in great shape here. So let's start with the liabilities first. 5,000 plus 5,000 is 10,000. So this bank has $10,000 worth of total liabilities. Now let's look at the assets. So we have 8,500 and then 1,500. Well, if we add those together, we also get $10,000. So our assets equal our liabilities. This bank is in great shape. So now let's look at this second example. First, let's quickly make sure both sides equal each other. So on the liabilities side, we have 20,000 plus 5,000. This equals 25,000. And now let's look at the asset side. We have 2,000, 3,000, 5,000, 15,000. If we add all those together, it also gives us 25,000. So that's good. We're starting off balanced. So now let's look at what happens when we have a deposit into a bank. So if Bob deposits $1,000 into this bank, what is the new demand deposits? So if Bob's adding $1,000 to his checking account, we're now going to have 21,000. So what's the new demand deposits? $21,000. Now we have to make sure it equals on the other side. So it's the new required reserves and the new excess reserves. So we're not going to worry about the treasury bonds or the loans right now. That's not what we're dealing with. We're just going to look at required and excess. So before we can figure out the new required reserves, we need to know what our reserve ratio is. So what is 2,000 of 20,000? What percent is that? Should be 10%. So now we have 21,000 in our demand deposits. So what is our new required reserves going to be? Should be 2,100. So the other $9,000 of this $1,000 deposit is going to go into our excess reserves. Okay. So if we add everything up, we will get 26. Whoops. Not 26. No, 26. My gosh. 26. Both sides is 26. Good, we're still equal here. So the new required reserves is going to be 2,100 The new excess reserves is going to be $3,900. And now how much can this bank initially lend out based on this deposit? Well, it's that $900 that went into the excess reserves. So we put $100 from that deposit into the required reserves, and then we added $900 into the excess reserves. So what is the change in money supply from this deposit? First, we need our money multiplier. So it's going to be 1 over 0.1, which is 10. And then change to the money supply is going to be the deposit. We'll call it the excess reserve. It's the excess reserve over the money multiplier. So our excess reserve was 900 times our money multiplier of 10. So our change in the money supply is going to be an increase by $9,000. So we're going to do a lot more bank balance sheets and costs. We're going to have a lot of practice with it. So just understanding the basics of it is what I need you to get from this flip video.